inside the match now, and I'm excited. One thing to kind of give a nod to Foxtrot Labs, we've had this dynamic before where it's not, well, the map can be 2 different maps in one, essentially, based on where you spawn. And it hasn't worked out because pro gamers, for the most part, try to limit how much randomness is in their match. They'd much rather be more prepared, have an idea of what they're going to do, and then win for that, as opposed to get lucky. But Foxtrot Labs has been fairly well accepted as, like, actually...
It's actually a pretty reasonable map.
It's a pretty reasonable map.
I don't thumbs it down or anything. I play it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and introduce these players in the top left. Falling in that last game to a hidden expansion, it is MC. Some people know him as Mincho.
Oh, my God. On that note, let me try to save myself. In the lower right-hand side, from Team My Insanity, it's jjakji. It's a little bit better. Probably over the top. Somewhere in the middle there.
Well.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
jjakji's also not the kind of guy that gets that kind of, like, jjakji! And there's someone out there who's like, yes, finally. That's the energy I picture him as. You know, like, nobody does that. MC a little bit.
That's true.
MC came out as the Undertaker for a group draw in GSL.
That was pretty awesome. I like that.
He's going to tell his grandkids about that someday. It's like, I dress as a...
He's not going to tell them about it. They're going to hear about it.
That's right.
Because he's MC.
There's going to be a video of it playing in every like a city street in Seoul, Korea, where he's president of the Korean state, basically.
That would be awesome. I would vote for him.
I would too. Standard opening so far. We got a probe scout coming out from MC. He's like, okay, listen, that last game got a little bit weird. So let's take a look at each other. And on the flip side, we have an SCV leading the way before a Reaper. Now, when they do that, a lot of times people, they look at this and they say, okay, well, he's going to eBay block. Certainly that's a possibility, but also what they're doing is confirming if there's double gas going, so that they need to start hunting around the entire map for proxies. Yeah,
I would say it's actually more often than that nowadays than the eBay block, even though I think the eBay block is vastly underused.
I agree. It is such a pain in the butt when that happens.
Yeah, it's the most
annoying thing. And he sees the one gas, immediately knows this is going to be a Gateway Nexus opening, but that probe, annoyingly, is just far ahead enough to drop the Nexus.
Yeah, it's just the shape of the map, so... perfectly done by both players so far. Just this is the most standard you can see, but already looks like MC may want to go ahead and hide something, possibly a Stargate, but that's a very obvious spot. That's somewhere a Reaper definitely can check if he's looking for proxies.
Right now, the Reaper's not checking anywhere. It's not time for that. He sees the Nexus, so of course you can't fit in a Stargate at that time.
Yeah, not this quickly, for sure.
I actually used to do this opening, and it was inspired by MC. I liked it a lot because it sends a lot of misinformation. When you see one gas expand, one of your bigger concerns is also like a gateway follow-up, like a 6 gate. That can be very dangerous. MC's been able to pull the trigger in the past.
That was actually one of his big go-to builds for a long time.
So they're not expecting the proxy, and it comes just a little bit later. You can see here jjakji is not your typical player. He's going to scout around. He also knows he's playing MC, so he knows he needs to do his due diligence. But if an Oracle rolls in at solid 7:30 or 8 minutes, and it's not expected, it can do devastating damage.
Well, that's the funny thing about having something come just slightly later, because people are on point for like a range of like 15 seconds or something where they're like, okay, this is when Oracles come in, and they're like just staring there waiting for it. But in a situation where it comes a little bit later than that, your guard oftentimes falls. You're like, oh, okay, he's not doing that, he's doing this other thing. Your mind is focused on what you think they're doing then.
Absolutely agree. It's good for MC that he wasn't trying to cram a proxy there, because again, jjakji's on top of things, scouts it. It's a robo inside the main, which is, at least for now, about as vanilla as it could possibly get. jjakji is a little bit alarmed that there is a probe there at all. He says, okay. And you can see him checking the bottom left-hand side of the map. That's because sometimes you'll do the proxy, and then the probe will start to kind of inch forward to drop a trail of pylons. That can often be a blink stalker attack. It can still just be Oracle plus gateways or just an Oracle. But in this case, it's neither.
Now, look at this in control. We actually have 2 sentries being made. Okay, now the gases go down. I felt like that was just slightly late for what we're seeing. And in fact, just 1 gas.
Has me thinking Warp Prism, Sentry, Gateway.
It kind of feels like that right now.
Immortal.
Oh, wow. This is something, guys, that we don't really see in this matchup. Immortal pushes, well, if there's a map where we do see Immortal pushes, it is, in fact, this one. And in fact, if I recall correctly, Polk got killed by this on this exact map at IM Toronto. So it's It's definitely a build that should be just slightly on jjakji's radar, but if I'm looking at that as jjakji, I'm like, oh, okay, this seems pretty normal. You're probably just going in Colossus deck.
Yeah. It's the gases at the natural that'll tip him off. If you see just one gas, you're really certain that a timing attack is coming.
Yes.
But with the Reaper dead, I don't think he'll scan. A scanner would be super savvy. This Observer, by the way, is getting a lot of intel. And part of the reason why, by the way, folks, the Immortal push on this map is really nice. It's a medium-sized map. The distance between the two bases is not very long, but also the natural's kind of wide open. A lot of maps that have a smaller ramp leading up into it is very defensible, but on a map like this, yeah, you can pull your SCVs, but I'm going to get my surface area and do damage.
That is the case. He's got 2 Immortals. Okay, hold on. He's getting Twilight, a Forge, a Warp Prism. So this is actually something else. I'm actually starting to get a few chills here because it's harkening back to pre-BlizzCon in the Burbank studio. He actually went for like a Charge Immortal Psystorm build on the Overgrowth map.
Okay.
And had a fantastic game against, for some reason it's eluding me who he played, which Terran player, but it was like really well done. Looks like he's getting Blink right now, but the 2 Immortals going in a drop, like this is just something we don't see. I mean, it's like he's playing Legacy of the Void or something. Yeah,
and that's what a precursor to that's going to be. The Warp Prism becomes super amazing, Legacy of the Void as it stands right now. Double drop loaded up though, and jjakji again scouts to make sure that there's no Observer kind of staring down at this. And there is not. This is fairly poorly timed for him. His best defense for this double Immortal drop would have been Stimmed Marines and Marauders. As it is, he's only going to have what's produced right now, which will be adequate, but this should still do some damage. Both players are actually poised to do damage. MC is kind of moving a little bit outside of his natural, which is tragically timed. Of course, Photon Overcharge is available, if I'm not mistaken, and Blink is actually coming close to finishing. He actually even has Stalkers in his main. MC is in a good position.
Yeah, I do quite like it. I'm very excited to see, okay, he actually has 4 more gateways on the way. Wow, he's going to be able to warp in quite a few units. Warp Prism's still just sitting still right now in control.
Yeah. Same with the Medivacs. Both these players have a guillotine hanging above their opponent's head, unbeknownst to them, as it is right now. And jjakji sharking around again. He wants to see, is there going to be a third? Are you muscling up for a 2-base timing attack? jjakji as well. If I'm not mistaken, I don't see a third command center from him. He, too, is just kind of bunching up for a... I mean, both these players are ready to go to round 7.
Well, this is really not... if you make, like, a quick third command center against MC when he's... The game has been a little bit weird, right? Like, he is kind of going for what looks like a macro play, but what oftentimes looks like a macro play turns into a 2-base Colossus all-in, so he might be expecting something like that. So I like that he hasn't expanded yet. Look at that. He's even sending another Medivac up. I guess this is going to be a massive Medivac drop.
jjakji would be happy to base trade. I mean, if MC moves out for a 2-base timing attack, Terrans love the base trades. Look how patient MC's being with the Medivac, or excuse me, the Warp Prism, by the way. Like,
yeah, I think he waited for the gateways. Like, well, I think he's playing PvZ maybe.
He might think that, but
or
it's like
PvP. Like,
I don't know. He doesn't want to announce it, and there's certainly some strength to be had. I think he's waiting for the army to be out on the map or to confirm that. Well, never mind. Here comes that Warp Prism into the main. There is no missile turret here. There's no Bioforce. He's going to load. There's a lot of Medivacs behind this. There's the Zealots. Charge not yet finished. A little bit of an anti-timing from MC. He needs to pick up that Immortal, and he does just in the last second. Meanwhile, Zealot's going in. And again, this is just before charge finishes. There's not a lot in the way of a Bioforce here, but nice reaction from jjakji to pull back the SCV. So really minimal losses here for jjakji, I feel.
Yeah, it looks like MC's only killed a grand total of 8 SCVs here.
Big fight outside the natural of MC. He's going to be kind of fighting to save his life. That's the kind of force that doesn't care about a Photon Overcharge. MC warps in Zealots right on top of him. He's pulling the probes. Stalker's going to do what they can. Here, Medivac count not super high, but there's the other 3 Medivacs, and actually that's going to be high enough. MC taking so much damage. The Immortal drops immediately. He's only got these like 3 or 4 Stalkers, and eventually it looks like he will whittle this down, but with the defense at home from jjakji and the big attack here killing most of MC's attack units, supply advantage jjakji, game advantage jjakji.
Oh, absolutely. This looks to me completely like a jjakji victory, but you can't count MC out yet. He does have 2 Immortals left over. He does have Blink. He does have a Warp Prism. So, like, this is a set of units you can do something special with.
Oh! He loses the Warp Prism with one of the Immortals. The other Immortal dies immediately. Here come the probes. Those are not the boys. These are wimps. They get shot down immediately. There's just too many Medivacs in the sky. And MC, you had some cute ideas, but jjakji, he paid no mind. Takes the GG for himself, and it's a 2-1 advantage for jjakji.
Well, I gotta say that build, that strategy from MC, I've never seen before. To quickly get a couple of mortals and a warp prism, fly it near your opponent's base, wait there, warp in extra gates, and then go in. I've never seen something like that before. I'm a little bit caught off guard, and it really didn't work.
It didn't, and we're seeing a little bit in the way of like cracks in his game plan. I thought the first 2 games for both these players were rock solid, really well executed. Game 3, super cool idea, and okay, there is something to be said for the patience. Like, wait for the army to move out, because it was all in medevacs. He didn't necessarily see them out on the map. He thought they were at the natural. But to be triggered by, like, he was like, okay, I'm going to take a 3rd Nexus. It gets denied. He's like, well, I got to drop then. And he goes to a spot where he's not shooting SCVs, warps in slow Zealots 15 seconds before the upgrade finishes. That all gets wasted, and then he just dies back at home. That part of the execution was really bad.
He was massively out of position at home when those units came into the natural. If he was in a good position with the units he had, he may have been able to scare him out of there and not really taking damage. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a patient move. It's just jjakji happened to counter. He didn't really know what was going on, but the way that his medevacs were hidden, MC was definitely waiting for him to leave. That's like Protoss Basics 101. When you start using Warp Prisms against Terran, you're like, well, if he's just left his base, this makes him come back or it does a ton of damage. And that's what MC wanted to put him in this position where he had to choose between 2 evils that are just so powerful.
Charge lots with